At some point, you have to look at these kids as ungrateful. Jaden Rashada has to be the biggest glaring issue with the transfer portal and both the NIL. And it's not necessarily that there's issues with individual things. It's that both of these things together in the NCAA's refusal to actually, I don't know, enforce any rules or regulation makes it the insane wild west that it is. Jaden Rashada is on his 17th team in 3 years and has barely played more than 4 games of college football. I'm not coming down on this kid. Honestly, I think this story is a sadder story about the influences in your life, the money hungriness, and kind of where we're straying away from the game. Look, I am the biggest NIL, biggest transfer portal, biggest power to the players advocate. I mean, I'm not sure if you can call it an advocate. I'm just a dude who yaps into a mic. But at the end of the day, the only way that we can solve these things out and make things best for not just the schools, but also for these kids who are getting taken advantage of and losing years of playing college football is to solve it. So boom, in this video, we're going to recap some of the Jaden Rashada thing. We're going to take you back to the lawsuit situation, see if we can get some clarification there. And then most recently, where we're going to start today, is the new announcement that Mr. Jaden Rashada is going to have to wait until the spring portal to figure things out. Now, again, this wouldn't be a big deal. There's nothing wrong with taking your time and wanting to transfer to a good spot and a good place. But I think the bigger issue is some of the influences that people are pointing to. You have the people like Quinn Ewers supposedly, getting $8 million offers, right? You have the Marshall quarterback that transferred to Duke getting $8 million. You got Mr. Carson Beck, big bad Timmy boy down there in Miami, getting $6 to $4 million a year when it comes to playing quarterback. So it's clear to see that there is already, I wouldn't say completely life-changing money, but next 5 years changing money in the realm here if you get a good NIL deal at the quarterback position. I fear that Jaden Rashada has been using his immense talent that he had at high school and trying to basically pawn it off to get one of these deals in which he has not. So let's walk you through the full thing, right? And this is really where we have to look at ourselves and say, at what point do we either say we don't want to play football, right? Or do we take a completely different path? You're telling me he's been committed and signed, right? Because I'm considering that. Remember, he signed here. He's been signed to a team since 2022. It is 2025. He's been on 1, 2, 3 different teams and looking for his 4th, right? We're going to start here. He signed a letter of intent. We've already told you about, these kids signing letters of intent, getting on campus and still transferring. So he signs a letter of intent December 21st. Month later, decommits, files the whole thing. We're going to get deeper into that lawsuit. We're going to walk that through, but let's look at the timeline first. Okay, signs with ASU. He plays a few games at ASU. He's got some film at ASU. Okay, I'm out of here. There's some big bucks to get. So where does he go? He just goes to one of the most jam-packed quarterback rooms at the time. He transferred when Carson Beck was coming off of his best year or his better of the 2 years, right? Or 3 years, 2 years. He had a year where he was coming in and Carson Beck was projected to be the best quarterback in his class. And now Carson Beck is playing another year of college. It's crazy how that works, right? But who was guiding him? Who made the decision to say, "Oh yeah, this is what we're gonna do. Let's transfer here." And then who is guiding them to say, "Okay, well now Carson Beck's gone. Now what are we gonna do? Can we be number 2 to this Stetson Bennett guy who's clearly has the keys to the castle, clearly has been a part of the system, clearly the offense is made around him. Mike Bobo immediately had a place to call for him. Nah, we're not going to try to fit. We're not going to try to do that. And I am not one of these old fogies. I hate when people are like, oh, what, y'all don't want to commit? I mean, y'all don't want to compete? Y'all don't want to compete, right? I think it's dumb to say that for your first team. On your 3rd team, you're going to have to compete. Not just your 3rd team, but at what point do we start looking at these kids and being like, yo, you're not transferring from Marshall to Georgia, right? You're transferring from Georgia to where? Where I get Arizona State to Georgia. Do you know how rare it is to not only is he was a backup and found a better place to be. At some point, you have to look at these kids as ungrateful. And I'm not the dude to say that. I am the pro player dude. I am the pro transfer portal, pro NIL. Get your bread, and I'm gonna remain that way. But I could call a spade Two things can be right at once. These coaches run off and do whatever. So yeah, these players should be allowed to do them. Yeah, keep doing it. Jaden, transfer twice in this. Hey, do it again. I don't care. But if the goal is to actually sign an NIL deal, why would I, you know what I'm saying? Why would anybody want to commit any collective money, any revenue sharing money, sign you on a contract if when the last contract you signed, you not only rescinded it, but then you also sued. So let's get to the lawsuit. Let's talk about it because we talked about it. And I want to say, Georgia quarterback Jaden Rashada has yet to make a transfer visit and keeps evaluating. This was January 17th. He hadn't made a visit yet in January 17th. Dog, the transfer portal opened in December 19th. He entered the transfer portal January 5th. And I get Georgia was in the playoffs, so, you know, you don't want to go Babula, so give him his grace there. But are we serious right now? I just, at some point, we got to look at the craziness. So let's go all the way back. Let's go to Jaden Rashada's NIL case against Florida, right? And obviously the ironic turn it took and all this craziness. This is a little excerpt that I had here. So the legal battle involving Georgia Bulldogs redshirt freshman quarterback Jaden Rashada and key figures tied to the Florida Gators football program has taken a fresh turn, adding another layer of complexity to what could be a landmark case in the collegiate sports. Marcus Castro Walker, formerly the director of player engagement and NIL at Florida and one of the central figures targeted in the lawsuit, may now need legal representation. His attorney, Hallie B. Lewis III, filed a motion to withdraw, citing non-payment of fees, giving the central premise of Rashada's lawsuit being that he was defrauded out of millions and promised NIL compensation. The failure to pay one's attorney in a high-stakes case centered around unmet financial commitments is a particularly troubling optic. So here it is. Marcus Castro Walker's lawyer has filed a motion to withdraw from the Jaden Rashada lawsuit, citing non-payment of fees. Castro Walker was formerly University of Florida's director of NIL. So Marcus Castro Walker's lawyer has filed a motion of withdrawing from the Jaden Rashada lawsuit, citing non-payment of fees. So if I'm reading this correctly, it seems that the person that was defending himself can't even afford his lawyer. Rashada's 37-page complaint filed in the Northern District of Florida accuses Castro Walker, head coach Billy Napier, and prominent booster Hugh Hitchcock, among others, of orchestrating a fraudulent scheme to flip his commitment from the University of Miami to Florida. The lawsuit alleges that Rashada was promised $13.85 million in NIL compensation over 4 years, with $1 million to be paid up front and a signing day. According to Rashada, these promises designed to lure him away from a lucrative $9.5 million deal with the Miami Hurricanes. Woo! Vocal booster John Ruiz were never intended to be honored. The complaint outlines a series of events Rashada claims left him financially stranded and betrayed. While he did receive an initial payment of $150,000 purportedly to settle obligations tied to the Miami agreement, the first significant payment of $500,000 never materialized. Instead, I just threw a dang turtle face on down here. Claims instead, Rashada received a contract termination letter 2 weeks before national signing day. Despite the ongoing reassurance from Napier, Castro Walker, and others that the NIL deal was intact, that the funds would be delivered through the Gator Guard Collective and Hitchcock, the promises continued to fall flat. Feeling deceived, Rashada ultimately withdrew his commitment to Florida and later played a season at Arizona State before transferring to Georgia. The timing of the nature of Lewis' withdrawal of Castro Walker's attorney, which was precisely due to non-payment, is undoubtedly ironic. While not necessarily related, the non-payment of your attorney is not the best thing for optics, mainly if this suit proceeds to trial. As this case unfolds, it paints a damning picture of Florida and head coach Billy Napier, prominent booster Hugh Hitchcock, Marcus Castro Walker, who stand to orchestrating deceit, manipulating a young athlete's future. Rashada allegations depict a scenario where promises of life-changing NIL compensation were wielded as bait, only to be pulled away at the crucial moment, leaving him stranded. Rusty Hardin's characterization of the ordeal as a classic con game on a 19-year-old captures the alleged duplicity at the heart of this case, exposing a recruitment scheme built on empty words and hollow assurances. Wow. This is the state of college football that we're in right now. And this is the actual deal itself, kind of the representation of it. But I just think it's so crazy because a lot of people have said that even in my in my comments, and let me just see this. Is it still going? A lot of people tell me that this case was dead, right? But every single time I look it up, it continues to go. I mean, this is May 21st, 2024. I'm looking at June 23rd. They filed the filing to dismiss it, right? But does that file to dismiss the lawsuit? The motion filed in the U.S. director that Napier could not have defrauded Russia since the sole Rashada's lawsuit filed on May 21st alleges that Hatchcock Castro. And then this one that I'm looking at, I'm trying to figure out is because I was just trying to give an update, but everything else I look at, it says that it's still open and it's still pending. Like they haven't done anything yet, right? So here's the latest from the Tampa Bay Times I could find, right? Just to end this whole craziness out. Because what's craziness is if this isn't really happening and this isn't the case anymore, it makes it look crazier, right? But that line came from one of the parties Rashada has sued over the collapse of an 8-figure name. As college football spent much of the last week focused on the name, image, and likeness NIL dispute of UNLV. Oh yeah, they're talking about UNLV, Matt Sluka. We've done videos about that. Check that out. The common understanding consistent with the basic contract law is that there is no such thing as a promise until the agreements are struck. It seems to apply to Sluka, his side of the story. Former offerings. But that line came from one of the parties, and Rashada has sued over the collapse of an 8-figure name, image, and likeness deal. Some of their agreements technical and dry. Napier and Casher Walker both cited sovereign immunity, which generally helps shield state entities and employees, but two broad themes emerged, starting with the importance of signed documentation. The simple truth is that overly optimistic promises are made every day in college football recruiting. Players are told all the time that they will be starting by their sophomore season, or that they will win the Heisman Trophy if they play in the offense, or that they will be a first-round NFL draft pick if they attend the school, opening the doors of the federal courthouse to every college football player seeking injunctive relief of specific performative of an oral contract when their dream doesn't materialize would only lead to a class of plaintiffs larger than any mass tort action on record. Part of Rashada's case stems from a purported $9.5 million offer if he instead went to Miami, but another defendant, a car company formerly owned by mega donor Hugh Hatchcock, notes there's no allegation that the NIL deal actually signed or documented in any way. Granted, documentation is hard, if not impossible, to obtain. The lack of signed paperwork is a recurring theme. The other things get ugly. The car company Velocity Automotive Solutions called Rashada's suit nothing more than a disappointed athlete's attempt to make headlines and grab cash from what he believes is a deeper pocket. And so I'm trying to see, is there anything else to blame either side for the legal, or rather is a warning about how nasty these. No court date has been set in the Rashada suit. 3 of the defendants requested oral arguments. Rashada is now a backup at number 5, which faces number 2 Gators. Okay, or November 2nd. So from all accounts, it just seems that this is still an opening pending case. Sorry, I didn't want to turn this into just a reading of an article, but I think that's what it has to be, because I can see why people think it's thrown out, because by all accounts, the automotive people, the other people, everyone seems to just say, hey, he's just some kid who just didn't get the money that he wanted, or just didn't get any promises, right? Which the crazy part about that is I feel bad for Jaden Rashada, because it feels like they're all admitting it. They're all like, he got some promises. Who cares? He didn't sign a contract. Like, first off, I want to say first to Jaden Rashada, welcome to being an adult, because that's how it is. They just and then they say, oh, well, you should have known that. First off, welcome to being an adult. And then on the other half, y'all scammed a 19-year-old. That's what y'all did. Y'all scammed a 19-year-old. Y'all said y'all were going to pay him money. Y'all did it to Matt Sluka. Y'all did it to FSU. There are too many cases at this point of y'all throwing money around and not paying it. So first off, I believe Jaden Rashada, and I believe that the automotive company has a really big stake in saying, oh yeah, he's just that kid. Yeah, he's just tripping. Yeah, I don't know nothing about that. Yeah, because he's been paying for NIL deals for the last 20 years. That automotive group. So they don't want to raise any suspicions. So that's what that is. But on top of that, optics is everything, right? And transferring from Georgia after transferring from Arizona State and suing the last team that you tried to play with, I mean, it can't be a good look. So I'm really hoping Jaden Rashada finds a place, finds a home, figures something out, because right now it's one of the craziest stories in all of college football, and really probably a horror story in the world of transfer portal NIL. So y'all let me know down below in the comments what y'all feel about it. Do y'all think he should find a place? Y'all have a college team that thinks Rashada should join? Y'all let me know. Leave a like on the video if you like it, dislike if you don't like it, subscribe if you enjoy college football content. We'll see you next time.